I grew up in a small town in Americus, Georgia, and when I was looking for a college to select, it was important to me to go to a small school because I didn't feel like a big university would be a good fit for me. And so I went on a lot of recruiting trips and ended up at Furman University. The school was very small and closed campus, and I really liked my coach. Howard Wheeler was his name, and he just gave me a lot of extra attention. I wasn't that great coming out of high school. I was a good swimmer, but nothing I think that would make people, stop and say, oh, we really want her. But he did. He made me feel special and made me feel wanted, and so that's where I went. My first swim team experience, I don't really remember. I think I must have been 5. We were living in Birmingham at the time. I don't remember swimming. I don't remember anything about it until I was probably about 8 and living in Carrollton, Georgia. And that's kind of the first time I remember winning a high point. At that time, they were medals, not trophies, and so that was kind of my first big memory, probably because of the high point. I got to compete in 2 Olympic Games, the '92 Games in Barcelona, and then again in the '96 Games in Atlanta, which were both totally different experiences. Obviously in Atlanta, all my family and friends got to go because it was right next door and a big hometown crowd. And during my swimming career, I did hold some American records and a world record at one time. I couldn't tell you how long they lasted. If my dad was alive, he would know. He was the one that would know all of my stats and times. I can't even tell you what my best times were. Currently, I'm working out at Reynolds Plantation. I do a couple of things here. I coach the adult swimmers in the mornings along with my mom. She's also a coach here. And we also do the kids swimming year-round, mostly recreation. They don't go to the marathon meets that I used to go to when I was growing up. Other than that, I'm raising 2 kids, and they swim a little bit, but I'm going to let them decide yes or no, because that's a tough choice to make. I know the work involved, and it's got to be up to them. So my very first coach was my mom. She and my dad coached a small rec team in Americus, Georgia, and so I grew up swimming there. She taught all the younger kids, so I learned all of my strokes and all of my technique from my mom, and then when she got us good enough, my dad would take over. So once I got to high school, my dad was my coach, and then of course I went to college and had my college coach, Howard Wheeler, and then for a time, my husband at the time coached me for many years, Mike Martino. And so I've had mostly coaches that were either family or very close to me. And so I knew they always had my best interest at heart. There was nothing else going on other than they wanted me to do well and swim fast. So that was a good trusting situation. I think there were probably several times when I think we all went through times when you weren't sure you wanted to continue doing that. Certainly after college, you're done with your college career and you're kind of ready to get on with a real life. And I think it was my parents that kind of taught me into continuing, and that I could do that after college and swim and maybe still go to school, get a master's, which is what I did because that goes well with training. And every time I think I felt like it was a lot, I just kept in my mind trying to get to the next Olympics, because 4 years is a long time. It's a long time to wait in between Olympics. So during that 4 years, a lot changes. You get burnout sometimes. But I guess I always had my family. I guess I was one of those swimmers, and maybe that's just as typical of me. I never worried about who else was swimming, and because the minute I did that, I think it really put me off of my swim. If I started to think about, I just had to think about what I had control over, which was me and my lane, and so I really didn't focus too much on what was going on around me. Maybe that would have been better. Probably if I could have looked out a little bit to see what's going on, but that didn't work for me.